Good evening, Patrick here. 8 Questions with, and it is a fun Tuesday. Welcome to the show. Wow, it and perfect timing too. We had an overcast and very humid day for most of it. Just right when we started going live, it broke. Now we have a beautiful sunny afternoon. It is hot as hell though, um, and we'll probably get some rain this tonight. Last night we had thunderstorms, which we nobody expected that. Everybody's sitting there going like, "It rained? We didn't know that." Um, so tonight we'll be talking to our good friend Corey Wilky. He is a rapidly rising YouTuber here in the horror community and music community, film community, and music. He likes both films and music, and is willing to talk about them. He also has a ongoing series called Movie Club, where he invites all sorts of influential YouTubers that he appreciates and has come on the show, and they talk movies and pop culture. He also does a Friday afternoon stream during his lunch break for about an hour, and that is very popular. That reminds me of Phil from Phil's Creepy Videos when he used to do daytime streams. Daytime streams are very popular. When I do my pop ups, man, I sometimes I'll get so many more people coming into my pop ups than I do for my live shows, my schedule shows. Um, I could have 15 people in the pop up, tell them to come out tonight to watch the show tonight, and get five. Daytime is a very interesting place to do live streams at. Um, but Corey's here, and we're going to talk on film. We're going to talk about his journey and collecting films. What films he likes, what's his favorite films. We're going to talk some music as well. Um, and yeah, we're going to be chopping it up. Definitely chopping it up. But while he gets here in about 15 minutes or so, just letting you know that the calendar is still moving forward. That's right, still moving forward. But I was actually taking a look at the movie news though, and so I heard that there are rumblings they're going to come out with a long-awaited sequel to Spaceballs, uh, which was Mel Brooks' his parody of Star Wars, and they're going to come back and try to make a sequel to it. I have mixed feelings about that. Um, Maybe Sam Millbrook's out on a high note. Maybe. Does it need to be made? No. Has anyone really asked for it to be made? No. Um, we talked about this yesterday with on our panel the cast and crew of Webster County yesterday. We were talking about that about the theaters. Why are they suffering so much? I mean, summer season is here, and the theaters are just suffering. There's only been really a couple of movies that have done anything. One of them was a Pixar, Inside Out 2, but the rest of the movies coming out are really struggling. I mean, they sound like they're making some impressive money, but a lot of them are losing money. Nobody's seen them. Nobody's really, everybody's like, eh. They're neither talked about nor were they asked for. And you can make a movie like The Fall Guy all you want. You could put two of the most popular actors in there all you want. But as we've seen, nobody really asked for the movie. You gotta see what people want, and people keep saying over and over and over they want original movies, which is why, In a Violent Nature has done pretty well as far as that goes, horror goes. Um, In a Violent Nature has done pretty well. Um, it came out Late Night with the Devil has done very, very well considering both their budgets. There is room for fresh ideas. Um, we got another movie that's going to be interesting to watch called The Bike Riders. It's going to come out this weekend. That one I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm curious because motorcycle movies, God, I cannot remember the last one. I cannot remember the last one about a motorcycle gang. Um, probably, as far as comedic terms, probably the Clint Eastwood movies, Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. But otherwise, that I'm trying to think of last time I actually saw a movie featuring a motorcycle gang. That's interesting. That's interesting. That'll be interesting. Um, See if it takes off or not. Um, it's being sort of marketed sort of like a throwback to the '60s, which was the heyday. Well, of course, Marlon Brando started out with the Wild One, and then their bike, motorcycle culture all went all the way through into the early '70s. And of course, we know about all about Easy Rider, which was a fantastic film. That really was a good movie. That was a really good, interesting movie too. I keep saying that word, but it really was. It had a lot to say. It had a lot to say, and man, that's a movie to go back and look at. But what I want them to remake that movie? No, leave it alone. Leave it alone. I think it's part of what it is too. Is like I said, a lot of these movies they're just not asked for. They're just not. Every other year, it seems like it's a new Robin Hood movie, or every other year there's a new, a King Arthur movie. But no one's asked for them. I have, you sit on YouTube as long as we do, talking movies as long as we do, and no one talks about that. No one sits there and says, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's go. Let's make it." If they only did another King Arthur film, we'd be totally happy. No, 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 nobody asked for that. Um, right now, people just want to see original content on. They want to see original movies. Um, and that's what they want to see. The multiplex now is all about the numbers. How many sequels can you do? To me, it's like, man, how many movies can you do that's original? Um, I know there's one coming out in July 19th, starring our girl Haley Bennett. It's the widow. I'm not sure how to say this. I'm going to say I think Clicote. It's French, and it's a story about the French champagne maker. Her husband dies. She takes over the business and leads it forward. In fact, she leads us forward so well that the company is still today is still here today and very very vibrant and very very alive. So that's an original historical drama in the middle of the summer, in the summertime. Not the first time. I mean, it's interesting to see. That's what they're going to roll out. They're going to roll out a historical drama in the middle of summer. But I think it can work because people really want to see something different. They don't want to see the same old. Multiple. Jaws 24. Nobody wants to see that. Anthony is here. Anthony's going to the library to write on his memoirs. Doing good, Anthony. I went to the library today. Today was library day, so I went down there. And last week I had an absolutely joyful time at the library. So I was thinking, we were thinking that it was going to be a little bit rough down there today because we had a big festival happen in a park right next to the library, and it basically takes away for 5 days. It shuts down the parking lot for 5 days, and I didn't think there'd be anybody, or actually me and the resellers as well. We didn't think there would be much action going on because of that. Um, and then the lady from the library who runs it pops out her head and says that a lot of people had donated movies. Says, yeah, we had an overflow, so we had to put some other aisles. And when she said that, and she even said that next week there's even more overflow for next week. So as soon as I heard her say that, I immediately thought it must be time. The yard sale season must be over. School is out. School is out. So for a lot of families, they will start planning on doing family vacation and family things, and that's what they'll want to do. They want to be. They don't want to sit there and waste a weekend doing yard sales. That's during the springtime. So what's going to happen is people will be donating their movies and whatnot to the library, because they're not going to sit out there in 100-degree weather, which is what we're getting this week. They're not going to be sitting out there in 100-degree weather uh, trying to sell some Achatsi. All right, the doorbell has rang. You know what that means? That means when the doorbell rings, we go get it. We don't like to make anybody sit in the studio. So please share us out. Welcome in and welcome in our guest, Corey Wilky from Wilky's Movies and Music. And here we go.
How's it going, Patrick?
Good, good. Happy you're here. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight.
Oh, I'm happy to be here too. Thank you so much for asking me to be on.
Uh, you are on fire right now.
Oh, I don't know.
Your channel is blowing up. It's always fun to see that. Can I be honest with you about that? At least from my perspective, because I've seen a few channels do that. They
Yeah.
come on, they hit the right niche, they hit the right thing. They're relatable. Um, content wise, vocals plays a part of it. Demeanor wise, and the channel will just blow up.
Well,
And I think that's what's going to happen to you.
well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words very much. I really do appreciate that.
Um, Anthony is here, and we're talking about summer movies, and it
Yeah.
was a great segue is that now summer season's here. Um, do you and your wife, do you guys go to the movies a lot, or are you streamers
Um,
or physical media?
we do not go to the theaters a lot. I go some, but it's usually on my own. 'Cause sometimes there are films that she just doesn't care for, which is fine. I mean, it's just, there's definitely crossover where movies that we both enjoyed watching together. But it seems like a lot of those come out onto the streaming services, and she's perfectly fine with that. So I'd say a lot of our movies are streaming or physical media. I, I I'm not even going to claim to have the biggest collection at all. I definitely do not, but I like to pick and choose and get some stuff in there where anytime I want to go grab it and watch it, I can. But I don't get out to the theater as much as I would like to. I wish I had one of the passes. Like people keep on talking about having, like a
Right.
monthly pass where they can just go as many times as they want. And I would, if our theater chain came out with something like that, I definitely would look into it.
I've been catching something on Sin from Sin's Corner. I've been
Yeah.
catching something on her. She says that on the theater by her, what they do, I think on Monday nights, which is traditionally a slow night for film.
Yep.
What they do is they put out a mystery film, and it's for $5, and you walk over there and you don't know what you're going to see until they roll it.
Yep. And the theater I have started doing that too, and I have I have jumped. Actually, I was on Sins. They were streaming about it last night after they got back from last night's movie. I almost went to mine. They just started doing it. I was going to, and I picked correctly. I was kind of looking at the rating of the movie, and they give you an approximate runtime of the movie, and I was looking to see what the new ones were that were popping up in the theater on Thursday, and I the one I guessed was what it ended up being, and I kind of wished I could have got out to see it, but we just had some other things come up, and I couldn't get in it. I live out in the country, so it's a little bit of a drive to get in. And
Right. What was the movie that they that was showed?
the bike riders,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was just talking about that before you got here.
yeah, I was listening to you where I
Oh,
jumped on when I was getting ready, but yeah, yep, that was the one that they had going, and that's the one that Sin and them saw as well because I heard them talking about it last night.
oh, okay.
Yep.
You know what? That's good. That's an interesting movie in the sense that, we're talking about before, we were talking last night with Michael Menard and the cast and crew of Westchester County. We're saying how people aren't really rolling out to the theaters because there's too many numbers at the end of the titles. You know,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
there's too many numbers, so people get tired of that.
I
They don't
love
want
it.
remakes and sequels. I mean, they want something fresh and original. And it has shown that there is life out there for that. It was shown during the pandemic
Yeah.
when IFC Midnight and IFC came out and ruled the box office for a summer with three movies, highly original movies.
Yeah.
And they came out there, and in fact, I do believe The Retching set a record for the most weeks at number one.
Oh,
Like
nice.
tied a record. I think it was there for. So it's there. Of course, we saw the Late Night with the Devil, and not only did it get a full general release, it got re-released because of word of mouth.
Yep.
Um,
That's when I barely got to see in the theater. I saw it on like the last night my theater was showing it. It was one that so people like Sin and some other people on YouTube, that it was them talking about the movie. I even knew it was going on. They just didn't have much you know, promotion of the movie. It's very low budget, which that doesn't mean bad, but just they weren't on commercials before, NHL games or whatever, they didn't have a lot of the commercials, but that was one I was really glad I got to go out and see, but it was a very short run in our theater.
do you feel like that movies like that need to be shown on commercials, or do you think word of mouth, like we have it here, like our YouTube community is a free publicity machine for the
Yeah.
right for any studio. I mean, it's like, holy cow, we talk about these movies all the time.
Yep.
Type in the name of these movies onto the search engine and see how many movies pop up that are being reviewed on TikTok, on YouTube, on Reddit, on WordPress. You don't have to spend a lot of money to go out there and promote it because the grassroots is already there.
That's the
That's
thing.
what, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
Let me.
I get
Let
excited
me.
and start talking.
Oh yeah. The Indie Escape Network is here. Hey Joe, how are you? Glad you're here. And Double Feature Podcast.
Hey, Mika. Mika and Kira.
I do believe those are the Wonder Twins, right?
They're awesome.
Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Um, yeah, I think grassroots. Like I said, I mean, for Late Night with the Devil, it came out. For one thing, for someone who runs AMC, finally got it through their thick head, and it's been frustrating for me because they started to push the IFC films out. It took them years and years and years to finally figure out, like, hey, we own these guys. Why aren't we showing their movies in our theaters?
And I know you love them too, right?
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there watching every time an A24 movie comes out, it gets loads of coverage. It gets out in the mainstream, and it's like, why aren't you doing the same thing for the IFC movies? Why aren't you have the screens available to you? Why aren't you doing it? And so they finally did it last year with Skinner Moranik.
Mm.
Word of mouth came out there. They put it out there. It made $15 million. Awesome movie. It's an amazing movie. And then you turn right around, and then this year they released. I think they've released a wider, not a whole lot, but they put When Evil Lurks, and they also put Late Night with the Devil and In a Violent Nature. Both those movies did very well. In a Violent Nature had mixed reviews, but Late Night with the Devil had overwhelmingly good reviews.
Oh, I really enjoyed that movie very much. So, and that's the thing when you're talking about people want original movies, and then when they bring out a big, so I know, like, just throwing out, like, The Fall Guy has just recently been out, and it was a high budget, big name people in the movie, and it underperformed. It wasn't $1 billion movie. And anymore, it seems like if you don't hit that mark, it's just like, oh, it's a failure. But there's a lot of those lower budget independent, like Late Night with the Devil. They had such a short run, and like you said, a lot of places extended it because people were actually going out to the theater and seeing it with, like, no publicity at all, it felt like. But if you look at the total box office, it might not look super impressive right at the first look, but for their budget and what they did, I think it did really well. And I mean, think if they would have just done a little bit of, but like you said, the grassroots, I'm surprised some of them don't do some more of going out to bigger YouTubers. I mean, I'd take it too, but I know I'm super, super tiny, but like bigger YouTubers to give them like screener copies to be like, hey, we're confident in our movie, watch it, be honest about it, and go out and just put a video out about it. And like getting the word out like that, I mean, that's probably a way cheaper way than them buying an ad before I threw out like an NHL game or something.
Well, a lot of the independent, a lot of these movies, what they do for that is some of the bigger studio budgeted films, what they'll do is they will find a social media, a popular YouTuber or what have you, a TikToker, and they'll have them on the movie. We'll give them a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
lines, give them a scene or so, and then you stand back and watch that person just go sell out. They'll sell it out that, hey, I'm in this movie, come watch me in this movie, and next thing
Well,
you know, you saved a couple $100,000 worth of advertising.
yep. I see what you're saying. Yep, for sure.
And and it's harmless, as long as they're not trying to, as long as they're not trying to interject this character or this influencer and trying to make them part of the movie, a main character, so be it. If they want to come in there and like, hey, well, look who's hanging with Ryan Gosling for a scene. It's Josie and the Pussycats. All right, yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's there. They go and they say, Did you see my movie? Did you see, I'm in this movie? And next thing you know, she's got like, a million subscribers. And next thing you know, they're all going out there all talking about the movie. And again, it affects the search engine, it affects the algorithms. And there you go. You got her for nothing.
But I'll tell you what, like the only reason I got out in time to be able to put my bottom in the seat at the theater to see Late Night with the Devil was people like Sin and other people out there in the YouTube community talking about the movie, reviewing it. And I don't think a lot of them, they went out on their own dime on many of the people, and they gave their honest opinion, but that's honestly the only reason I knew about it in time to be able to go see it in the theater.
I was just really excited to see it because, I love ISC movie. That's my jam. And so I was super psyched to see that, Skinner Moretti did really well. And then next thing you know, when Evil Lurks and then the Late Night with the Devil. And I'm just like, this is amazing. And A Violent Nature came out. I was like, this is amazing. We're seeing all this ISC action going on. And it's like, I've been sitting here for 4 years and I've never seen as much publicity for the company that I have now. And it's just like, it should have always been that way. Instead of just putting their movie out there in ISC in New York, running it on 4 screens. And because if you go look at their numbers, if you go look at some of these independent numbers, like I read the independents, like how do they do? Every time you'll see like, an IFC movie, they'll do like $70,000, $74,000. And you go like, man, that movie just absolutely bombed. Well, no, it was only being shown on one theater with 4 screens.
Yes, correct. For like 3 days or something, like not a very long time.
Glad to see ISC getting some recognition on the big screen. Yeah, It's way overdue because AMC owns Shudder and they own IFC. And it's been way overdue for them to start punching their way into it. They own the theaters, they own the screens. There's no rhyme or reason why their movies cannot be seen on their screens. You just walk into the smallest theater, has 50 seats, 60 seats. You put in the movie and you push it. You got, and then like you said, these movies are not made for a lot of money. It doesn't take very much for them to recoup their costs. $100,000 $200,000 movie can pop out $1 million, $1 million, whatever.
Yeah.
Plus home release, physical media release. Don't forget that. Yep. And next thing you know, you're getting profit every movie that you release. You're going to start making profit off that.
Well, in those theaters, even if they're getting even if it's not a packed house, when they in that particular showing, they got a couple people coming in and buying some popcorn or a pop or whatever. It's like that's money that they didn't have coming in any other time. So I think it's a win-win. Like you said, I don't know why they don't throw more of them on the screen. But
you mentioned earlier about you and your wife, and I'm really curious about this. So
okay,
yeah, because this is how it used to go for me and my wife.
Okay.
So we used to go to Blockbuster, and and so we go in there together, and you know how that is, right? Video store. People are going to be forgetting it. We're going to be like those old timers on our porch, rocking back and forth, trying not to hit the dog's tail, going back in our day.
Back in my day.
Yeah, we used to have to go inside the video store. But of course you go inside the video store, and immediately you look around and go like, oh, what the hell am I going to rent? what are we gonna watch? You know, when it gets the latest thing, and so it would take forever, to pick out a movie. And so finally, my wife said, especially when they put it on sale, 4 for $20.
Mm.
Oh boy, So I would go in there, and Lorianne would just sit there and say, you can pick whatever. So I already knew what to do. One, I pick a movie out that I like. Two, I picked out a movie for sure that I know she likes.
Mm-hmm.
Julia Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
Julia Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pick out something with that we both like.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it goes with you and your wife when it
That
comes down
is
to?
that is crazy how close it was with my wife and I, especially before kids. So like before kids, and we were running to the video store. So our big thing, we would go out. That would be like our little date night. We would go out to eat. And so we wouldn't be hungry because it would take us a long time to pick out some movies when we went into the Blockbuster or whatever. So you go eat and then you'd get to walk around for a little bit, after you ate all that food. And then we'd always end up with like at least two movies, but sometimes three. And it was almost exactly what you said. We definitely would pick one out that I knew both of us would enjoy. And there'd be one that maybe would be leaning her way a little bit. And then there'd be one that I know that's going to be when she's asleep, and
Right,
I can watch that action movie with everything exploding or whatever, and she won't care what it is.
right, right. What movie he did has your wife ever surprised you by coming up there and saying, Corey, I want to go see this movie right here, and it's a popular movie, but it's like, let's just say like Late Night with the Devil, right? And
She
she
would not
comes up
see.
and says, but let's say you just had an example, and she comes up there and says, I've been hearing a lot about this movie. Do you want to go see it with me, honey?
Yes.
Has she ever done that?
So there's probably been more than just this time, but like funnily, that's not a word. I'm making up words now. Funny enough, that happened just this past week. We have not got to watch it yet, but we subscribed to Max, HBO Max, and Iron Claw came on to that, and she was like, "Hey, have you heard of this Iron Claw movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's one I really want to see." She's like, "I kind of want to see that." So that was one that I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's watch that one." And that was one that kind of surprised me a little bit, but I think it has. I know the story behind it. I've not seen the movie yet, but I know the story behind it, and I could see where. And this is not like a bad when I say this, but like she would not have any interest in wrestling alone. Let's just say that. But there's so much of the human story and the things that happen between that family, that I'm like, okay, yeah. The more I thought about it, I'm like, I can definitely see you enjoying that. And I was like, grab a box of tissues too, because
I was
that's
gonna say enjoying it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's the word I use, but um, yeah. But my wife did that. She surprised the hell out of me. She surprised the hell out of me when she said she wanted to see Acts of Valor.
oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, everybody's at work talking about it, and I'm going like, she would never see that because all the gunfire and the violence and everything else. And she says, people at work been talking about this movie. Would you like to go see this? And I'm going like, okay. So,
Is
we
that Cuba Goody Jr. or am I thinking of the wrong
no,
one?
no. The biggest name in that movie was Rosalind Sanchez. She was in it for like half of the movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm thinking of
What?
which one
Yeah,
am I thinking of? Man.
they used real Navy SEALs in that movie. They cast
Okay.
Navy SEALs, and of
I'm
course,
thinking of is it Men of Honor?
yes, that's the one with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Robert.
That's the one I was thinking of when you threw that
That's a
out.
great
Sorry.
movie too. Great
Yep.
movie. So here we are, and I'm worried because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be really, this is gonna be violent and everything else, and
Mm.
we're watching it, and then the critical scene. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert. So the critical scene where they're trying to rescue their assets and they're being chased by all the rebels, and they have to drive inside the water,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the boats come screaming around the corner with the Sea Whiz, and everybody in the theater was just like cheering, and I could feel my wife's hand on top of mine. She's gripping it really hard. She's into the moment, and I'm like, wow, this is so neat, because most of the time we always saw rom-coms, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I wasn't the biggest Julia Roberts fan back then, but but I go watch. We saw all the rom-coms. You name it, we saw it.
So that's what's funny. You can look back and you have so many great memories that are tied to so movies and music. There's like so many in certain eras that I can like hear the song or watch the movie and I'm like, I was at this place with this person at this time and what was going on. And so when you threw that out, I don't know why my mind went to it, but so I just remember it was pretty much the second date I ever went on with my wife. We went and saw Jerry Maguire was in the theater. And so that's a rom-com, right? Or not, maybe rom dramedy, or I don't know what you call it.
Dramedy.
But, yeah, dramedy. But no, I still remember that was the first movie we ever saw in the theater together, and that was our second date.
The first movie that we ever saw together, I came visit her from California. So when I met her, we're the newfangled romance. So we ended up going to see Armageddon.
Oh, we saw that in the theater together too.
That was our first movie we saw together, and
Yep.
she was passed out within 20 minutes. She fell asleep 20 minutes. She slept through the whole damn thing. Not even the only time when she woke up is when they were playing that damn song by Aerosmith, because that was a big hit then, and she loved Aerosmith. When she heard that song, she started to wake up, but she slept through the whole movie.
Wow, really?
Yes. She was so
That's
tired. I just sat there and I was like watching the movie, watching her, and she was peaceful. She's out, and then when at the end where they're having the crucial moment, I'm just gently like, okay. Now remember, I just met her face to face like 2 days beforehand. I flew in,
right.
And then we went to the movie and dinner, and she just had a hard day at work, and she just fell asleep, and that was what it was like. That was the funniest thing that ever happened. It was the weirdest first date I ever had.
But you'll never forget that for the rest of your life. It's like,
no.
My wife is a master at falling asleep during movies. So we'll say that.
Oh, yeah. All right.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those moments.
I'm going to ask the chat. Let's ask the chat that, because this is something I'm sure they can chip in on. Have you ever been on a date with either your wife or your husband, or on a date where they have fallen asleep during the movie?
So I do have a story. Sorry, I talk way too much sometimes. So if I need to rant it back, just let me know.
Please, let it go.
But it's just, I have fun when it's like, oh, here's a buddy that wants to talk about movies and hang out for a little bit. And I get excited about that. But so not a date, but I still remember there was one year, oh gosh, it would have been in about 92. My dad was going on a work trip to Washington, D.C., and he asked me if I wanted to go along with him to be able to go see some of the sites. And I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I still remember to this day, we went to the Smithsonian. I don't know if they called it IMAX at the time, but it was way bigger screen than I've ever seen in my little small rural town life. And it was about aviation. And I love that. Space, aviation, I get into. And it
was it Red Flag?
What's that?
Did you watch Red Flag?
No, I can't remember what this one was called, but we had been walking around. It was hot in DC, and we had been walking all day, hitting monuments down through the mall. And then it was one of the Smithsonian's that was playing this, and we walk in and they have this big hot air balloon go up, and then it spreads out. The screen was like a regular size screen, and then it goes over a cliff, and it was a really cool effect. It opened up into the big full screen. Next thing I know, somebody bumped me as they're leaving, and I look over, my dad's snoring. We made it like 8 minutes into that thing, and I think it was a nice air conditioned theater, right. Dark. We both fall asleep, but man, I looked over at him and I was like, what? He was like, what's the last thing you remember? I'm like, there was a hot air balloon. And he's like, me too. And somebody was like, yeah, that was at the beginning. And I was like, well, but
I have seen people fall asleep in the theater. You hear them snoring. And you know what? You would think that the nice thing would do is to go over there and gently shake their shoulder and say, hey,
Oh, I wouldn't get mad.
No, audiences will not wake it up. And it's not because they're afraid of anything like, oh, I don't want to get this guy. It's because he or she becomes the source of entertainment.
Yeah.
You hear him snoring, and more often than not, it's more better than the movie. And it's like,
They probably like, which one of them is going to snore loudest the next?
right. And we're
Start putting
sitting
bets
there,
on it.
and you notice one thing too, that once someone starts snoring, the theater gets dead quiet. It is
Yep.
dead. All you hear is this loud ass bone saw. I got you for 3 minutes. It's ripping through the theater, right?
Yep.
And everything's super quiet, and no one's saying anything. And then you see people break out the phones and they're videotaping the guy. You know,
Yep. So luckily, back in '92, we didn't have the cell phones to tape each other. So we were safe from. We didn't end up on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or something snoring. That's the good thing about being old. You did some of those silly things before all that stuff was around.
um, let's see. Some of the chat are coming here with their stories.
Oh yeah,
Um,
great.
yeah, let's see. That's the great things about movies. They can bring up social nostalgia.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Let's see. Texas says she didn't blame her for falling asleep. For Armageddon, I might be persuaded to go with that, even though that was a fun movie. Let's see. Double feature had mentioned she's almost fallen asleep. I asked what movie it was. See, Texas says
Oh yeah, I want to know the movie.
An ex of mine, she always pass out at the movies. It's probably a good reason why it's an ex.
I just snorted. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. Went to a late night viewing of The Hours and Prometheus. Was way too late for those films. Yes, but okay. So here, and this is a true story. Now, I used to go to midnight shows all the time with my buddy Farm.
Mm-hmm.
Never once when we go to the midnight show did we ever hear anybody fall asleep.
Oh yeah, a lot of times the midnight shows, those are the people that were they wanted to see that movie. It wasn't like they weren't getting drugged there. They were like they wanted to see that movie.
Never once. I mean, and we saw all the Lord of the Rings there, and they started at midnight. And
oh geez,
nobody fell asleep.
You could go and get some eggs and bacon after you get done with that. Then.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of people did. There was a Denny's right down the street.
Oh,
so
perfect.
They come out of the theater and turn right down there, and they go head on over to the Denny's.
Go get the Grand Slam breakfast, and
that's right.
After you get done with the movie.
That's a long double feature right there. The Hours and Prometheus. Holy crow! Larry says one of the first movie dates I had with my wife was a Predator movie party. They had camel paint, bandanas, cap guns, and she was all about doing the face paint. Well, that's really cool. So she got dressed up for the Predator movies. That's how I should have known that she was the one. Now imagine if she would have dressed up like a roughneck though, Larry. Mm-hmm. You know Larry's part of the Roughnecks, right?
I did not know that. Yeah. So I do know it now. But
he went down to Texas Frightmare. He met Michael Ironside.
Wow.
Yes, he is now a Starship Trooper. That's right, part of the Roughnecks. But yeah, I never heard of anybody doing a as far as dressing up for a movie. I saw a couple of people dress up for like Star Trek movies. A couple of people for Star Wars. The 501st Legion walked in through a theater once.
So when the new trilogy of the Star Wars came out, my son was pretty young, and well, it wasn't the first ones. That was my cousins or my nephews. Sorry. Anyway, those were the first ones I remember seeing people dressing up and going to. And I never dressed up and go to the theater, but I was like looking at them, and I was going over and be like, "Hey, you guys look awesome. Have some fun." I think it's cool that you get that excited and go for it. I never have, but I think it's cool that people do it.
I think the most energetic crowd for sure that I ever watched and be a part of a movie like that is obviously the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you're not dressed up for that, you're probably gonna get signaled out. Like this is your first time watching the movie, and don't ever say that. If you've never seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show,
don't admit it.
Never admit it, because don't.
So like in my early 90s in high school, there was a place in town. It was called Billy Joe's Picture Show, and they would have a midnight showing almost every other weekend of Rocky Horror Picture Show. But it was one of those that had the tables and they'd bring out pizzas to you and you could eat. But man, people would get all dressed up and go all out. And there was a time we went down and we are like, we got to check this out. We kept on hearing about it. And we didn't dress up, but we sat back and we had a blast and met some really nice people.
I bet.
Yeah.
What was it like when you first do you remember the first movie that you actually saw? How old were you, and what was the first movie that you remember seeing at the theater or drive-in?
Wow. It's funny you said drive-ins because we did those a lot actually as kids. I had a lot of cousins around my age, and it was one of those things that you would pay per car to go into the drive-in. Right. And so we'd go over. We lived out in the country, and then we had some cousins that lived in town, and we'd all meet up at their place that was near the drive-in. And of course, we all had trucks, and back then, it's just all the kids jumped in the back of the bed of the truck with lawn chairs, and you could fit everybody in like 2 trucks, and you only had to pay per vehicle when you'd go into the drive-in. So we did that quite a bit. Earliest one. I do remember, and I had to have been pretty young, but I remember Popeye, Robin Williams, and yeah. And then E.T. popped out really big in my memory because I remember being, and I think every kid that saw it, the ending scenes and stuff scared me, I remember. So that always stuck with me. And then we all wanted to go buy Reese's Pieces and things after we saw the movie.
Right. I remember we were watching after Spielberg did a surgery on it, and they run around with the federal agents. The federal agents are going like this, poking at the people. The guns have been digitally removed, but they look like they're still holding them there. It's like, holy shit, that's so cheesy.
Well, and I don't know if I've actually seen it. And it's probably on the copy I bought. I bought a steelbook of E.T. when it came out in Target a year or 2 ago. I can't remember. And I haven't watched it since I bought it. That's a bad thing. But I heard a lot of people saying there's a lot of scenes they digitally removed the guns and put walkie-talkies in their hands. And it'd be kind of weird to have people around walkie-talkies like this,
Dale just walked through the house.
Hey,
what's
Dale?
up? We are just talking about early films. The first thing that we saw, when we became on our way to become fans. And I will ask that same question to the chat, so we can see some of their answers. Is what is the first movie that you can remember seeing? The first movie that you can not liking it or disliking it, just period. What was the first movie that you can remember watching? I know Larry was probably Garfield, being Cat. So that's just my guess. I could be wrong about that.
I think one of the oldest when it was actually in the theater had to have been that Popeye. But how about you? Do you remember?
Yeah. The first movie I saw was at a drive-in too. It was called The Blue Max with George Peppard.
I don't know that one.
It was a World War I movie.
Okay.
And that was the first movie that I remember seeing at the drive-in. Didn't go very much with at all, not until later on. The first movie that I watched that scared me was Grizzly. That was I saw Grizzly before I saw Jaws.
So when I was really young, I remember E.T. scaring me at the end of it. I remember going younger and seeing The Return to Oz, and that scaring me. You ever seen that? Return to Oz?
Yeah. Oz is sort of terrifying.
That one's kind of scared me because there was the queen, or I don't know what she was, but they had the room where she had no head and all the heads were in those cases and they're walking through. And I remember that scaring me and looking at my mom was like, what did you just bring me to watch? Kind of a thing.
Well, Mama, I thought you'd be asleep by now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Probably. I was a little older then. I remember arachnophobia kind of freaking me out a little bit. I'm not really scared of spiders, but that one kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Okay, so my only problem with movies like that, arachnophobia or eight-legged freaks or what have you. And again, I can relate to Larry. Larry can relate to this. Okay, so all those movies, they always kill a cat in those movies, right? And it's like, I don't know where that myth came from that a spider would eat a cat, because all the cats that I've ever had, Corey, it's the opposite.
The cat just takes it apart.
the cat eats the damn spider. I remember the first time I ever saw a cat eat a spider. I was blown away. I was like, did he just do what I thought he did? He didn't, did he eat the spider? And you go in there and you look at him and there's like a leg hanging out of the mouth. You're like, that is the most disgusting thing. That is like terrible.
So
And yeah,
I grew up on a. Oh, go. Sorry. Go ahead.
all these movies they have out here, they're always showing like egg-legged freaks or whatnot, and they're showing the spider beating up on the cat. And I'm going like, I mean, I understand this is supposed to be fantasy because it is fantasy because this doesn't happen in real life. But go ahead.
No, sorry. That's where I apologize. I get all excited and I start jumping in. But what was I going to say? I grew up on a farm, so we always had a lot of cats out. We had dogs and cats both, but we had a lot of cats that hung out in the barns, and they would always kill the mice. And man, I saw them go like vicious on some mice once in a while, and I'm like, yeah, no spider's going to take that cat down. It's like there's no way because they were pretty vicious, but
Yeah, they always have it too. It's like okay, someone cannot have a cliche. Like every time you see a movie, spider or long legs, or anything has to do with a creature feature, and it's just like, how come you guys never beat up on a dog? You never have a dog go out there and get beat up by a spider, and it's like I cannot remember a movie where it's been a dog and a spider. And
yeah,
it's like,
and the spider takes down a dog or something.
let's see. We're going to talk some movies. We're going to talk some music too, because this is the other half of your channel.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us about your music. Do you play? Are you a musician? Do you play in bands, or
No.
are you? No.
Nope. I wish I did not have the talent for it. I enjoy it so much. I'll sit and listen to music, but I don't have that gift.
No,
I don't have the gift.
I didn't have the gift to play.
Mm-hmm.
I had the gift of finding out who you listen to, but I couldn't play it all. Yeah, I couldn't play it all either.
So I'll sit and listen to music all the time because that was one thing. Especially when I first met my wife, that's one thing she couldn't get over is like somebody, and I'll do this too. Like you could just sit down and be like, I'm going to watch a movie. You shut everything else off and you just watch the movie. Well, I'll do that too with my stereo. I'll just shut everything else off and put an album on, or start a whatever, play some music. I'll just sit and listen to it. Put the phone away, put everything away, and just sit and listen to it. And she, I think, was always amazed. She was like, "Aren't you bored?" I'm like, "Well, to me, it wasn't any different than sitting and watching a movie. Like some albums told a story through the thing, and so if you listened through the whole thing, it's kind of like watching a movie." But
yeah, I remember when country music used to do that. The country music back in the early 70s, man, they would tell stories in those songs.
Yep.
And it'd be like 8 or 9, it'd be like, instead of the 3.5 minute song for radio, they'd be like 6 or 7, minutes, and they'd be telling a story about it. Country music was like that. Then of course, some metal bands got into it, and they would start stretching their songs out and to tell a story. Before pop music, before everybody started to, go crazy with the 3.5 minute limit. Hey, Scottish, how are you? See, Happy says that he is a singer-songwriter. So your channel, Patrick, is a safe haven for music too. Oh, definitely. If you look at my playlist, Happy, you'll see that we've had on some really well-known musicians. We've hosted Jerry Montano and oh boy, John Christ from Danzig. He's been on the show. We've had various bands come on and sit down and talk music. So yes, this is a musical safe haven.
I'll say that's one thing that is really pulled me into your channel is you have such a mix of people that you bring in to talk to with your interviews, and from the movies, music industries, and I like that. It's not just one narrow focus, but there's a lot of interesting things, and a lot of it can have some overlap as well. So
I agree. I really like the diversity. I love a good interview channel. Like I know you do movie club. I know you have full panels on that. Dell's amazing movie swap.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite shows right now. It's really really cool. Of course, Larry and Don in the cat
Yep.
house.
Yep.
Um, uh, I mean, that's a really fun channel. As far as your YouTube goes, um, what? How did you start your YouTube journey? Then we're going to go back to music.
Yeah. No, sure. Wow. I really haven't been doing it very long. I was one of those lurkers forever. Like I would just listen to other people. I would put YouTube channels on and I was following people, but I wasn't saying anything. So I understand, when some people fall into the like, oh, I don't know if I want to make a comment. I was like that for I followed some people probably way longer than they ever knew, but I just never said anything. And then I got to where I'm like, everybody looks like they're having fun in the chat. I want to join in on the fun, And so I would throw something out and then you'd have some people start responding to you in the chat or even the person that's on the live stream. But even if it was just within the chat, then we'd get talking back and forth. And that kind of started to develop. And then I think I got to the point where I was like, I like having that interaction so much. I wanted to know what it would be like to come on live where I'm actually on the camera and talking and, having somebody on with me, or if it's by myself, even people in the chat jumping out. And so it was really just towards the end of last year that I kind of took that first little tiptoe to see what I'd think about it. So,
What was your reaction when you went on it? I mean, I was like you too. I was like, I think there's actually a couple channels with the name I think there's one channel called Faces for Radio.
yeah. Dave and Rich. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that title. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I
That's
first.
how I feel.
I got a face for radio. It's like,
Don't we all feel that way? I mean,
no,
seriously.
There are actually a lot of handsome and good-looking girls and guys that come on there, and I'm going like, they can go in front of a camera and they're very receptive. I mean, they're very engaging. And then I see some people, and this maybe, I'm just being honest. I mean, I see some people out there that I'm going like, man, dude, I don't know how you're doing it. What, you shouldn't be on. No,
Is that what you said about me?
no, no. I know there's this one guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm positive. But that guy goes on live, and there's two of them. They're very nice people. I've actually gone on their side of their streams. But good Lord, they chain smoke. It looks like a damn cartoon. All you see is just a cloud of smoke around their head, and they're trying to, and it's just like, oh no, I just can't hang with that. I like the people, but sitting there watching someone like chain smoke for an hour is not my idea of fun.
Well, and then I just get called out because I'll usually have like 3 or 4 mugs next to me. I'll have my Diet Pepsi, I'll have my water, I'll maybe have tea. If it's cold, I might have a hot coffee too next to me.
Oh yeah, I
and I have to drink. I have to drink a lot. I love talking. You'll find out right now. I mean, you're sure that I've cut you off a couple times where I get having fun and I probably maybe talk too much, but then I dry out. So I feel like I'm always constantly taking a sip of something. So.
No. It's always too. You can always tell when somebody's new to YouTube or streaming. You can always tell the new ones because when they first start streaming, they're always like 5 or 6 hours long. They're always. you always.
I've been on some of those. Yep.
As soon as you and Gizmo.
Oh gosh, and Anthony. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be on for 6 hours, and I'm like. Yeah, you guys are just new at this, aren't you? Because it's like,
and they're not. That's how they roll, though. But that's my problem, though. I'll usually go into it saying, "Hey guys, I can't go the long haul tonight," and then 4, 5, 6 hours later, my wife's like, "Whatever, just come to bed and don't wake me up when you come to
bed." Let me ask you guys in the chat. When you first, Prince. Okay. I will do that. I will definitely call you for Prince from now on. Let me ask you guys this. I mean, when you guys first did your live streams, how long were they when you first started out? Did any of you do live streams of more than 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours? I did one. I did one that was like, I think it was like 750, like 7 hours and 50 minutes. I don't know. It didn't plan on that. It just people kept on coming up. People kept on coming in.
It's fun
We
if
just
you have
kept
the
on.
time and people are
Oh,
chatting. It's
I
fun.
my voice was so shot. Um, yeah, I can go like 3, maybe 4 hours at the most before
That's a good
it
length.
starts to hurt. It starts to hurt, and
Well,
I
and
just
what's funny is I think I've started to develop a reputation of being long streams. So if you look at some of my, and I've never hold anybody to that because I usually go into, I'm like, I understand you might not want to do that long, whatever you want to stick to. And I've done it on some where they're like hour tops, maybe a little over, and I cut it off there pretty
okay.
close. I try. Sometimes I get talking, but then there's sometimes I'll get to that point too, and I'll be like, "So what are you thinking? No worries either way. Are you want to wrap it up, or you want to keep? Like, yeah, we'll keep talking, you know." And then it ends up being I have a lot of 3 hours. It feels like, but
Let's
I don't want people to be intimidated to come on though too, and feel like they have to talk to me that long.
let's see. Prince says, "Happy shenanigans, Corey." Yep.
Yep.
So long stream to shenanigans. Dal mentions, um, consistency is tough. Mecca, real life interviews too much. Yeah, I try to do mine for about 90, 95 minutes. I know with YouTubers, it's gonna be always gonna run past that because YouTubers are basically talking to friends, and so you can carry on a little bit. But most of the time, I try to make mine about 90 minutes to maybe an hour and 45.
See, and I
Um,
think that's what happens with mine a lot is I'm doing a lot of YouTubers that I either knew ahead of time or I've had some like fun interactions with them a little bit, you know, in chats or whatever. And it was more hanging out and, you know, it wasn't a professional interview. We'll just say that. But
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I seen, I seen people do do the hour long. They do 2 hours. I've seen some, they'll get out there, they'll rotate through. Like this Saturday, I was gonna be up 3 hours Saturday, but now I'm just doing 2 hours. But we're helping our good friend Hobbs Horror out, so we're gonna be doing a channel to channel show on Saturday. I'm doing 2 hours of that with some guests, and I think that helps when you have more people come on to your show,
oh,
because
absolutely.
now you're not doing all the talking.
Oh yeah.
Um, you get someone like someone can come on in there and help you, like carry on the conversation, so you're not carrying it all by yourself. Hey Ron.
You get somebody like me that won't shut up, right?
No, no, not at all. I enjoy you very much. You have a real good voice, and you're very relatable, and people really they're attracted to that. And I like the Friday night. I like the Friday afternoon. We have
It's been fun to do. I've been trying it out. Yeah, it's been fun to do.
I mean, we had a guy. He doesn't really pop up too much anymore. But his name was Phil, and he has a channel, Phil's Creepy Vids. And he used to pop up during the daytime too. He used to be up there mostly during the pandemic, but he would pop up for anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden he'd be up there, and boy, oh boy, everybody be rolling over to that. I mean, he had some really fun chats in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and it's really strange how that works. It's like during the day you could do a pop up. Like most of my time when if you see me up during the day, not doing an interview, it's a pop up.
Yeah.
I, and I'll get like 3, 4 times as many people for the pop up than I do for the interview show.
So I found with mine, there's been a couple people that I know that are working and they just want something to listen to that's different. And I've had a couple people reach out to me afterwards and they're like, "Oh, that was fun. Thanks. It gave me something to get me through an hour of the workday." And they might just jump in the chat a couple times, but they're in there listening and watching it. And then actually, I've had a couple people that I've gotten to know from like Scotland or the UK, you know, like areas, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is much easier to tune in and hear you for a little bit than your
Yeah,
night ones, you know, because it's like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning start for them." So
yeah. When you sit there and you realize that you're starting your show at 8 o'clock, you're thinking it's 8 o'clock here, it's 5 o'clock in California, but
yep,
it's 1 o'clock over there in
yep.
England.
Yep.
And I've actually seen a couple of UK fans that follow. I saw one, Vosman, Voss. He actually came over on a Saturday night and stayed for the whole show when Stephen from the House of Horrors. He had Tommy McLaughlin on, who directed Jason Lives.
Yeah.
And Voss came in there from the UK at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he stayed for the whole show. But
Yeah.
that is so rare because it's such a time difference.
No, I know. There's a few good people that I've met over the European areas, but I know like one of them we were joking about the 6 hour streams. So with Gizmo, he's in Norway, and he'll jump
Right.
on some, and or even that if I'm on the stream with him, I'm like, we get off, and then we'll still talk for a little bit in the backstage or whatever after we're done being live, and I'm like, do you ever sleep? And he's like, oh, I sleep once in a while. I'm like, man, you are always going. I can't do it.
He's a really interesting man. He's
He's a cool
really
guy. He's a nice guy.
very cool. Yeah, he's interesting. He popped up right when I started doing this show, and I've always tried to get him. I've always wanted to get him on, but we just never been able to do that.
It's hard when you're that time difference too. Because the times I've jumped on with him, they've been always very last minute type of things. It's not really planned out, so it's just how it works out.
The most hardest ones to interview are the people from Australia or New Zealand.
Oh, I had, yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off again.
No, because you're sitting there, and they're 16 hours ahead of you, and it's like, damn, that's crazy. Here you are at night, you're sitting up here at night, and next thing you know, they're sitting over there in the morning having cereal. What's this happening?
Yeah, that was a fun one that I ran across. So it's Pete and Hannah's Watch List. They're out of Australia, and brother and sister. And they're really great people, really nice people. But I ran into them first, listening to them. They were on a conversation with KB, and so like I'll hear other people talk to people, and I'm like, oh, they seem nice or cool. It would just seem like they would be easy to talk to and hang out and talk about movies. And so I remember writing them down one time, just saying like, oh, I'd like to try to talk to them at some point. And we did it. So it was like yeah, that was interesting. They were a day ahead of me at that point, and when we were talking. But
When did you decide to try to do what was your inspiration to do movie club?
that was one of the first things that so when I started trying to like, oh, I'm going to try to do some videos, there was a couple of people that were like, if you want to try it, just try it. Don't try to be perfect. Just try it out. And I was trying to think of something to do. And I'm not saying it was like completely unique or anything, but I always remember people having a blast having book clubs and getting together, like picking out something to talk about, reading it, and then getting together and share their thoughts on it. And so then I was like, well, kind of like book club, you could do a movie club, and I'm sure somebody else has done it before, so I'm not claiming to be the first one to do it. But on my YouTube channel, one of my first videos, like a pre-recorded videos I did, I was kind of saying like, welcome to my new channel. I'm going to try this out. And this is an idea I have, this movie club. And I have done quite a few of them now, but I get teased a little bit. I do more talking to the people than the actual movie that we're going to talk about for the night, but I'm okay with that. And that's what some other friends came out and said, who cares? It's your show. Do whatever you want to do with it.
Well, how do you pick the movie that are you gonna be talking about, or do you let the guests pick it out, or do you pick it out and then all meet together and talk about it? I mean,
I try to let.
Oh,
go ahead. Go. No, finish. When you do your what?
Well, we do our IFC Midnight show. We have Mary Wilson was in a minute. She's one of them. We have the Midnights, and we get together once a month. We pick a movie to watch, and then we deep dive on it. Mm-hmm. Is that basically what movie club is, or is it more of an interview talking about the people, how they got their, where they got their love for movies from?
I'm probably leaning more towards that than the actual movie we're talking about. And that's where some people have criticized me for that. And some people have come out and said like, hey, it's fun. We just have fun listening to you all. And you throw a movie in there at some point for a little bit. And we have fun. Who cares? So, you can't please everybody, but I'm
Do,
having
do you get,
fun.
do you get criticized, Corey? I mean, I've never heard anybody.
Never, never. Yes, yes.
Wow. Okay. No, I'm just curious. I've never. That's something I have to turn around and ask that to the chat again. Have you guys ever been criticized for your content? Has anybody ever come to you and like I've always asked. The thing is though, I always ask for that. I always ask for feedback. I do. I want to know how I can make myself better. So I'll sit there and say, "Tell me what you think. Leave a comment." And somebody actually did that within the last month and
Yeah.
came out and gave me, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't a criticism. It was something to help me,
Oh, sure.
and
Sure.
and and, I, and I'm working hard at applying it. But as far as overall, as far as that go, I don't get any feedback at all, and I feel honestly, I feel that actually hurts me as a creator
Mm,
when I don't get feedback.
I can see that. Yeah, it's hard at first. And not that I like got mad or anything about it, but it was kind of caught me off guard the first couple times. But then I'm like, well, no, I mean, you're expecting to probably to get a little bit of that if you're putting yourself out there like this, and um, people are going to watch it, and people have opinions, and that's okay. And you're going to click with some people, and you're not going to click with others. But I, it's so back to the beginning of your question. I usually put it out to the guest to have them pick the movie to watch. So I want to, at the very least, I want to make sure it's something they might not end up liking it if they've never seen it before, but I want to make sure it's something they're interested in seeing, that they would want to see. And I always would put it out. It doesn't have to be something you've never seen before. It can be an old favorite that you're just like, I wish more people would watch this, and we can get on and talk about it. But it's kind of funny. Some people don't want to pick the movie, and and I'm not saying that's bad, but they're just like, so I've been having some situations where,
You know what it is? They're back in the video store.
right, yeah, and asking for suggestions, and you do that every time you'd go into the video store, whether it was the person working there or somebody you bumped into in the aisle. Somebody be like, "Oh, have you ever seen this one before?" Or
Yeah.
if you like that one, you should check this one out. And um,
My
so
video store used to do that to me all the time
yeah,
because I was like, we had a video chain called Family Video,
yeah,
and
we
I
would
would
have
go
that too. Yep,
I go down there like twice a week,
yep,
and I remember the first time it happened when someone asked for I'm lost. What should I watch? And the clerk said, "Go ask him. He's in here all the time. He can tell you." And I'm
and
looking
he
at
likes
them
talking
like,
to people.
yeah, well, I'm looking up because if you've been to Family Video, you know that they never really had a lot of people, not like Blockbuster. Blockbuster,
Yeah,
you could have like 20, 30 people in there. Family Video, you'd be lucky to have, the clerk and yourself.
right,
So if
right,
someone comes in there and he hears someone sit there and say, "Go ask him," it
yeah,
wasn't like, "Oh, well, I wonder who they're asking." It was you they're asking. And
yeah,
sure enough, if somebody can walk over, and it'll be, some family or whatever, and they sit there and say, "So the clerk said I should ask you what's really good." And I would sit there and say, I look at who's asking,
yeah.
and I would sit there and say, what are you in the
What are you
mood
looking
for?
for? Yeah,
Yeah, what are you looking? I mean, are you looking for fun, laughter? Kids,
yeah.
and then I would do that, and I found myself doing that more than once. Um, a lot of the times, and I have no shame in my game. I would walk them over to an ISC movie more often than not and say, "Yeah, I would watch
Well,
this."
but just circling back to what we talked about at the beginning of this, like the only reason I went into the theater to see Late Night with the Devil was people. This is our replacement to
Yeah,
being able to walk into a video store and talk about the movies and give suggestions to each other, if I could talk. And I love it. I write down. That's the bad thing, though. The good of the bad of the good, whatever. I have so many movies I've added to watch lists that I don't know if I'll ever get through them all, but it's great. I love hearing people's like passion, like, oh, if you like that one, you should check this one out. Or, oh, I wish more people would check this one out. It's just underappreciated, and please, take a look at it.
whose voice? I'm putting you on the spot here,
Hmm.
but whose voice is? Give me like 4 or 5 people whose voice, or content or review content. Who do you trust? I mean, there's people here I listen to when I see a review that they dropped. Like, because you heard about people, you hear like, I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes, I don't trust IMDb. And
Yep.
so, like when I want to watch a movie or hear a movie if it's good or not, I want to know, like certain things I'll ask right off the bat. I'll sit there and say, are you a Stanley Kubrick fan? Yeah,
Mm.
I love Stanley. Okay, you're out. And then but no, I mean, you talk to, like, do you know anybody who you could talk to and sit there and trust their reviews and what
Oh
they say
yeah.
about the movie? Somebody like
Yeah,
Sin is really good.
absolutely. And you're not going to always connect with every single one that they throw out, and that's not a bad thing. It's just you're different people and different. So, but there's crossover. But there's people that you find that you have more hits than misses with what they're throwing out. You're never going to have 100%. And I could love 20 movies and throw them out to everybody, you in the chat, and not everybody's going to love them. And I understand that. But no, there's quite a few people, and a lot of them are in the chat tonight too, that I've just had fun chatting with, and they've thrown out suggestions, and I've watched, I'd say, like I said, more hits than misses. But like, so Mika and Kira, Mika's in here, I think, with Double Feature Podcast. They've thrown out so many great horror movies and TV series. They just had a live stream not too long ago about top female cops in TV series, and there's so many that I hit with them than
Yeah.
others. And then Anthony, I just saw jumped in here. Anthony's Horror and More. He's been great to get a lot of horror recommendations from. And that's the problem. I'll get in trouble because I don't name enough people. There's tons of people that I follow that if I see them really like, wow, you should check this out, I'll
I'm
go out and
amazed
take a look
myself.
at it.
I'm amazed. Like I tell you I tell you the people that amaze me, and every month it's like it's an absolutely joy, is the IFC Midnighters.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man! They pick out some awesome movies. We have Mary in there, Mary Wilson. We have Ben from Cadaver Club, and then we have Horror with Haas, and we've had others. We had, the Night Watch Zone was there with Night and Coriander. We watched and reviewed and deep dive the Human Centipede. Guess who picked?
I've never seen that.
Guess who picked the Human Centipede for us to watch and talk about?
I have
And
no
I'll
idea.
give you a hint. It wasn't me. It wasn't Ben, and it wasn't Knight. Coriander picked it.
Okay.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. I was like, yeah, we're gonna cover the Human Centipede. What movie are we gonna talk about today, Coriander? And all of a sudden it's like, we're gonna talk about the Human Centipede. And I'm like, oh shit. Just, it's just the last thing you think that a woman would ever suggest is the Human Centipede. But it was an amazing experience, that's for sure.
And I found some people have gotten to know me a little bit better too over the time that we've spent together. And some of them will be like, I liked it, but Corey, maybe you want to step back from that one, and I won't take offense to that, but they just have known ones that I've been okay with and not
Give me an
okay with.
example of that. Give me an example of that. What do you mean?
Oh gosh, what's it called? A Serbian film. So that was one somebody threw out, and then I had like two other people in the chat or like reach out that I talked to quite a bit, and they're like, Corey, that's not one you. They're like, we're
Yeah.
not saying you're not up for it, but that might not be one you want to jump into. Just knowing what you like and don't like. And so I have not seen it.
So me telling you to go watch The Coffee Table is not going to work out for you.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard it's got some. I've heard some brutal stuff, but I've not seen it. But
It's a brilliant movie. It's my favorite movie of the year. It's my
Yep.
favorite movie of the year. It is, but I can't really watch it anymore. I watched it twice, and
yeah,
I've almost lost my lunch twice to it. But it's
see, I
still
can't.
it's still the best movie I've seen this year. It's an
Oh wow.
amazing, yeah, it's an amazing film. It's absolutely. I mean, it puts the whole. I mean, there's so many. There's there's so many levels of horror in that movie. And yeah, there is some dark moments, and I mean, there's some dark comedic moments in there, but they're very like a lot of people sitting there saying, "Well, this is a dark comedy." I can tell you right now, if I'm reading somebody talk about dark comedy, I can tell you right now they plagiarize somebody else's review, and they have not watched the movie
Right.
because there's no dark comedy moments in this movie. I mean, there's a couple of moments there, and you're sitting there going like, "Oh," but it's not one of those things where it's like it's a dark movie. It's just it's just a little less intense than where you're gonna headed to. I
Yeah.
mean, it's yeah. Let's see. There are some films that are tough watches. We struggle with a few.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Mika was saying. Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah. There's a few, but there's something really super cool too, and I'm sure people in chat can relate to this. When you make a suggestion to a movie, like you
Mhm.
sit there and say, you watch this movie and then they come back and they rave about it.
Oh
Like
sure.
like I picked out a movie last year and I was championing it. It was called Brightwood. I was telling everybody about the movie.
Brightwood. Okay.
Brightwood is an amazing film. Amazing. It's the best movie of the year. And another creative watched it, came back there, and I said, he did his top 20 movies too, in his top 10 movies, and he picked the same movie I did after my recommendation. I recommended it to
That's
him. He
cool.
watched it. He watched it and came back and said it was his favorite movie of the year too. That was validation to me.
Oh
As
sure.
far as you sit up there for hours and hours and hours, and then all of a sudden someone sits there and says, "Dude, you're so right. That is the movie of the year." It's just something really fun about that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Or even if they're not saying you're right, just like, wow, I found that same connection that you found with that movie. Like I felt that same thing you did with it. I totally get that. But I still get nervous recommending movies to people for some reason because
I
I
just
know
don't,
not all will stick with people. It's
I don't recommend. See, I think I don't know. It's just how it is. I mean, because I see a lot of people doing a lot of the same thing. I
mm,
really do. I
mm,
mean, they all talk about the same movies all the time. Every time there's a popular movie comes up, everybody talks about that one movie over and over and over.
right,
You get lost in that. You
right,
get unless you're one of those 50,000 channel, sub channels or what have you, you're not going to stick out. Here's my thoughts about Halloween Ends. Well, yeah, you and 5,000 other people,
right, mhm, right,
how are you going to stick out in that? How are you going to,
right.
you're just going to get overrun.
Yeah.
I just felt like, I'm going to let people, for me, my idea was I'm going to let people talk about that. That
Mm,
people want, even though I want to see Late Night with the Devil, I'm going to wait until the all the smoke settles down. Then I'll come back, then I'll watch it, and then I'll talk about it.
hmm.
Or because right now whatever I said would just be overrun.
Right.
So what I try to do is the movies that people don't really talk about. Like you just
Oh sure.
yeah. I mean that's what I love about channels like Al Lucard, Hobbs Horror, Mr. Bones. Charles Cochran, very underrated YouTuber, by the way. Um, uh, uh, they talk about movies that really nobody talks about at all, and it's so fresh to see something new, and you always keep it in the back of your head. So like when you're out there shopping for movies, you'll see, oh, that's that movie that I caught on Charles's channel.
You're
I
right. Yeah.
I found it at a thrift store. I can get it. Nobody knows about it, and that's
Yep.
just to me. That's what's really fun about doing movie reviews. Um, what has been the some of the movies that have stopped you in your tracks as far as, oh hell no, I'm not watching that.
Oh, so I've seen it and I don't know if I'd go back to rewatch it
Yeah,
or
like you watched it once, you're going like, yeah, okay, like you discover your limitations. Every man got to know his limitations.
right. And so some of them that I can think of might not seem like I think some people might be like, "Oh, that's I've seen way worse," but it's just something about the subject matter or the twist of the movie, something that caught me off guard. So like one of them I was just talking about actually not too long ago was an impulse buy. I never had seen the movie before, but so many people talked about it, and I think it's a really good movie, but I just don't know. Anyway, I paid for a way more expensive set for it than I ever thought I would. And so anyway, Old Boy.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you. So really good movie,
Really
and
good
this
movie.
it was more than I've ever like. I don't. I like that's why I like your channel, like your budget buys, and you know you're going finding like I find fun in seeing how far I can stretch a dollar and how many
Budget.
movies I really like to see. Like, oh, I got 5 instead of just 1, you know, or something. But
Oh, yeah. Well, the professor, Professor Macabro, he came up with the term a budget ballast.
yeah, right. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
he came
I
up with
love
budget ballast,
I love
and
it.
that is, and then Hobbes came up with the dollar theater. You know, like a dollar theater is when when Dollar Tree was doing all their waves, and people would
Mhm.
swamp out the Dollar Tree and just like bring bags out. I got movies. You know,
Yeah.
like you go in there for $30, come out 30 movies. I got
Yeah.
movies, and everybody would be talking. You know, a lot of them blind buys and what
Right.
have you, and people just sitting there. And then Dollar Tree got out of it, but Hobbs started like, okay, so we're gonna review movies that we get for $1 or less.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I've seen you do that. Yeah.
and it's such a great concept. I love doing it.
Yeah, I
I
love it.
love doing it, and I get fortunate in the sense that Dollar Tree has stopped doing their movies, but the library has not. So I'm sitting here going with an endless supply. My closet. I'm thinking. How some people have a watch pile right here, Corey. They have like a
Yeah.
I got watch
Yep.
that thing. Yeah,
Yep.
I wish
It's a little higher.
yeah. Just
So no, like so to answer that question, like so Old Boy was one that I think I don't deny it's a great movie. I just now I'm sitting whether I don't know if that will be one I'll keep or if I would try to do a trade in to like Orbit or some place like that for credit. I just don't know if I'll go. That was a gut punch of a ending for me of that movie. That I don't know if I'll rush back to watch it because and now if I go to watch it again, I know it's coming, you know, and
you know what?
anyway,
You know what though? That's what some people say that, right? Some people say that. Say, well, I watched this movie and I watched it all the way through. I could watch it. I could watch it again. Yeah, I made it through the Human Centipede, or I made it through the Serbian film. I
yeah,
could watch it again. You know what? No, no, not really. I mean,
yeah,
I saw the coffee table last year. I got a screener for it, and and I'm like, okay, oh my god, that movie just fucked me up. I'm like, okay, but I can watch it now. I've already seen it. I know it's coming. I sit there and watch it, and it got fucked up all over again. It's just like, oh my god, I just can't believe what I'm watching here. This movie is absolutely stone cold brutal, and but yeah, but like there's some movies like I Spit on Your Grave where I've seen
right.
it once. I saw it once when I was 19. I
Mm,
had no desire to see that movie ever again.
yep,
I
I
had no
saw that.
desire to see it. Though my hatred for it has been tempered by listening to Camille Keaton. I've heard Camille
Mm,
Keaton talk about the movie, and and she's comfortable with it. She's comfortable in her own skin about it. She can talk about it. She's not afraid to answer questions about it. And to me, it's like, hey, it's just she's adjusted to it. She can handle it. She did another one. She did another one, direct sequel to the first one. If she could handle that, then I'm okay with it. I'm all right. It doesn't mean I'm going to watch it,
right.
but I'm not going to be there and be like, oh hell no. Now it's like, okay, because sometimes you watch those movies and you get really worried for the actors in it. And
Yeah,
I've talked to
yes,
I've talked to actors here on Eight Questions with who have taken characters with them off the screen.
I could. Yep, I can see that.
It is not easy. I've had one who had to do he had to play he was playing an abusive husband, and he was every time they would rock out a scene, as soon as the director said cut, he was right there with his co-star, drinks, jokes, because it was such an
Oh,
intense moment.
just
Yeah,
try to
trying to, just,
bring.
just, and he says, I just want you to know that's none of what I'm doing is me, because here you are, you're in that person's face, is raging, and then you're sitting there, and it's like, damn, But then he says cut, and there's the actor sitting there going like, I'm not that person. I'm just playing an actor. And
Right.
you would think, of course they know that. Not always.
Emotions get going. I
Yes.
mean, uh, so I think that can even be tough with adults, but I think I have a hard time. And I'm not thinking of a movie right off the top of my head, but I know I've seen some before where there's young actors involved, younger, or even children in certain situations in movies where I'm just like, man, that's got to be. I could see where something's taken away from that, where they got to deal with something.
Um,
That's tough to watch too. But
so I asked in the chat, and I don't. I'm sort of blown away with this answer. Tell me if you are too.
okay,
So I asked this. I said, how big is everybody's watch list? And Reed from Spicy 4K Action says, I only got 2 or 3 movies on my watch pile, as I watch them as soon as I get them.
I believe that with him. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not in that situation. I'll
Oh
admit that.
God, no. Oh,
Um, but no, I
I,
believe it with him. I believe it with him.
I was like,
He's
Reed is now my new super. He's my new superhero because I wish I could sit there and say I had 2 or 3 movies on my watch pile. Yeah,
no,
I would be. I'd be
he's a
embarrassed.
really good guy, but I think he just is. He's selective about what he gets, and gets some really good stuff. And he gets it to watch it, and so no, that I him saying that I wouldn't question it one bit.
How do you pick a movie that you buy? Like you said before, you're would you? I mean, is it safe to say? Do you ever shop the boutique sales, or are you more just strictly a budget baller like myself?
Oh, I
And
dip my toe into both.
okay,
I
so
I dip
so
my
you
butt.
are you go a little boutique baller,
Well,
but
like I said, that old boy set I got that it was a neon release. That like that I don't know. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have bought that one, but we've all been there before, right?
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
it.
but I get a kick out of finding something used for a couple bucks where I'm like, wow, I could get now 5, 6, 8 movies for what I
Yeah,
could have got for that one or two. In movies that I know either I've seen before and I know I enjoy, but I want to have it in the collection, or like you said, oh, I recognize that title. So and so on their channel was throwing it out as a recommendation, and now I see it here for $2 at this used store, and you can grab it. So I do both, but I'll say recently I've scaled back. So I wish I could have said I made more progress, but I've had a few different people I know brought this up before. I'm not coming up with something new either. But I have not bought anything yet in June, and I was going to dig more into my unwatched pile, and life has just been busy. And so it's gone down because I've watched movies and haven't brought anything new in, but I thought I would have made more progress than I did.
yeah. It's hard because every Tuesday when I go to the library, I mean, I'm bringing home. I
But
bring
those are
home.
some great deals that you get on those
Yeah,
too.
I
So
guess the thing is like today I spent $5. I spent $5.
right,
I
right.
got I got 4 TV series. I got a Blu-ray, and I got like 5 DVDs for $5. And it's just like what?
You can't rent one movie for $5 anymore.
No,
So yeah.
no. I mean, I'm sitting there going like I see people I tell you what was funny. It was like I think it was Vinegar Syndrome was doing their one of their sales, and they're rolling out U.S. seals, U.S. seals. And it was like they're charging like $50 for it. The one with Michael Biehn and Charlie Sheen,
Oh yeah, Navy SEALs.
Navy
Yep,
SEAL.
yep, yep, yep.
They're rolling that out there $50 or $55. Corey, I bought it that week at the library DVD for a quarter. Who in the right
A
mind would
quarter.
go through a quarter?
So what
And,
was
and
funny?
yeah,
Yeah, that's funny because I just recently, earlier this year, bought it used on Blu-ray as well, and it was one that I remember renting VHS days, and I'm like, oh, I remember having fun with that. And I was lucky enough to meet up with a few other YouTubers in Tennessee and North Carolina, and ended up going to Orbit DVD like in person, and so that was kind of fun to do that. But there was a couple used stores that we went to that were called McKay's,
right.
and So I found I'd have to look. I bought a used Blu-ray of Navy SEALs for $1 or two, no more than like $2. No more than $2.
And then
And
you see people buying it for $55, and you just
I
look
know.
at them like Roadhouse, $60, and you're going like, they're selling it at the Dollar Tree for $1. I can
So
get you a copy if you want one.
so, so that's what was so funny from that trip. I kept on being like, "Oh, here's another one. Here's another one." There was three different ones that I bought for $1 or two at different stores on that trip on Blu-ray, and or DVD, but probably all Blu-ray that ended up getting 4K releases like a couple months after we got back. And so I was just making a joke, is like, well, if anybody else wants a 4K release, just let me know and I'll buy a used copy of the Blu-ray and you'll get a 4K. But there was like one of them was Navy SEALs, one of them was La Femme Nikita, and I'm blanking on what the other one was. But there was three different ones. I was just laughing. I'm like, oh, here's another one you guys are getting a 4K for now that I just bought used. But like I said, a buck or two, and so I'll be fine. I didn't buy the Vinegar Syndrome one. That looks like an awesome set, and I don't blame anybody for buying it. But I'm like, I'll be fine. I haven't watched the Blu-ray that I bought for a buck or two in
Yeah, I
earlier
just,
this year yet. So
I'm just to myself. I'm going like, I see the haul videos. I mean, there's this one guy. There's this one. Oh, I have to call him what he is, man. He's a tool. He is a freaking tool. I'm gonna drop some names here. So it's a UK guy. He calls himself Big Polly. That guy is
I don't know if I know him.
that guy. You don't want to. That guy is. He is the weirdest. He's one of the weirdest people I've ever seen on here. And he's fanatical about the slipcovers.
Hmm.
Oh my! Now I'm sure the chat can relate to this. So I never really knew about slipcovers. I was like, oh, sometimes I would get stuff with slipcovers, and quite honestly, I would tear it off. Get to the
Hmm.
movie underneath, but I was like, okay, it was there. I always thought the slipcovers was there just to protect to protect the box from being banged up.
Right.
So I would, whenever I open up a movie, I would just tear off the slipcover. I
Yeah.
didn't know slipcovers became a thing until my friend Dan from Reject Films told me that,
Hmm.
because him and I, we would talk about our family video runs, and I would go there and get the movies, and he'd go there and get the slipcovers. But holy shit, people have taken that to the next extreme too. And this guy, Big Paulie, I mean, oh, the guy, like I said, the guy's a tool. I mean, he's fanatical about the slipcovers. Like, it's not worth getting if it has no slipcover. I gotta have a slipcover on it. It's like, no, if it doesn't have a slipcover at all, it's like, dude, it's. I mean, and he has it all wrapped up, like factory sealed. It's like, so what are you planning on doing with that? Are you planning on like building a house with it, or are you planning on watching any of these movies? Um,
Well, see,
I love collectors, but good Lord, there's been some collectors I watch that they never put out any film reviews. They'll sit up there and Cinema Sickness was probably the first one that I saw with this. He would get out there. He was the first film tuber I ever followed, and he would get out there and he would find all these great movies, but he never reviewed them. He was
yeah.
getting them, but not reviewing. It's like, dude, you got all these great movies, or so you say, but we don't know anything about them. What did you like them? Are
Right.
are you going to keep it? I mean, what did because if you spent all that time and you spent that money, and we value your opinion. I mean, you find some good deals. I'd like to see what you think about some of these movies you're watching.
Right.
But he always just collected. But this other guy, he takes it to a whole new level. It's like, I got it off the shelf. I can't watch this. It will ruin the slipcover. I might tear the slipcover off. I wish I was kidding you about this, but go watch the channel. And
So
it's just like, oh, it's just like, I don't know. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Uh,
yeah. So I'll say I like slip covers, but I won't stop. It won't stop me from, like, I will not decide not to buy something because it doesn't have a slip cover. But I would also say if two of them are sitting next to each other, one has a slip cover and one doesn't, and they're the exact same price, I'll grab the one with the slip cover.
that's something you mentioned something right there, and I saw that for the first time at Walmart. And I have a question for me. Do I watch Asian horror? Yes, yes. If I can find it, I definitely will watch it. I have reviewed a few Asian horror films myself. I love Asian horror. Um, so I love it a lot. Well Go USA. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite labels. Studios. I pick up anything I see from them, martial arts or horror movies. They put out some fantastic movies.
So
Um,
I was just starting to look in the chat too. Sorry, like I was like, I don't know, I'm not following it really well, but Stephen Chang I think he was asking when I was talking about Old Boy about the Asian version or the American remake, and it was the Asian version is the one I talked about that I purchased and picked up. But
yeah. Betty says she loves Asian horror, Korean horror too. Korean horror is off the chain. That is,
yeah, yeah,
they make some fantastic movies.
like I
Uh,
Saw the Devil. Have you seen that one?
Feeling
Or yeah,
the
yeah,
the
the
I
Wailing I have, and I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it still.
one I caught and I watched and I was able to share with people was called two of them. One was haunted was a haunted. I don't. It wasn't haunted house. It was haunted something Ganjam that came out in U.S. Go USA, and then another movie called Defying Fury came out, and it has a title like a martial arts movie. It ain't. It's an amazingly fun film. I enjoy that very much. Hey, Paladin. Hey, what's going? Oh, all right, the
Are
cheetah.
we back?
Yeah. No. He just jumped up.
Oh,
I
sorry.
believe.
It just like it went clocking for it went blank for a little bit there. But
Yeah, he was standing on me, wanted me to pick him up. So
oh,
here's
okay.
the famous cheetah.
There you go, Cheetah. But
That's right.
I don't know if it'd fall into like horror, but another that I really liked that I saw recently was The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil.
Yeah, I
That's a
heard about that.
that's a good one. But but yes, there's I started diving into more, and I think what got me going down that path was when somebody finally got me to watch Train to Busan, and
Right.
then I started, diving a little more into some of the Korean films. But
Korean makes them. They make some great movies.
mhm.
I love. This is one thing I really appreciate about Raymond Murray when he had art exploitation and he did a lot of foreign films and then he restarted his other one with Cinephobia releasing. In fact, the Coffee Table, which I've mentioned many times already, is actually a Spanish film.
Okay.
So and he's and I watched several foreign films from him because he finds out all these really cool cutting edge movies. He had one called The Goldsmith, which featured one of the actresses from the original Suspiria.
Mhm.
Arranged had her in the movie. It's a really good movie too. Holy shit, that movie was fun. And that was Italian. I love foreign film.
Was
Um,
is it When Evil Lurks? Is that a Spanish one as well?
Argentinian.
Or okay,
Yeah.
I've
I
not
watched
seen it yet, but I heard that one has some brutal stuff in it too.
Argentinians make some very good films too. For I'm love seeing all this in the comments about people digging the horror digging the foreign films because
Mhm.
they make some bangers some film they do. Um,
Well, and it's nice you open up so many different options to watch when you get over that little hump of, like being able to watch like or maybe not everybody's been in that boat, but I know I at one point was like, I don't know. I just didn't dig into international films too much and then I figured out what I was missing. And then I figured out I didn't want to hear English dubs. I wanted to hear the actual spoken language and then read English subtitles with it. And
right.
you know,
Um, I there's a company called Film Movement
mhm.
and it's by subscription, but they go around and they collect films from all over the world. And what makes them unique is that they put these movies out, they release them out with a feature film and then a short film along with it. And it's really unique. It's very cool. And but because it's subscription,
Mm,
You don't really see any of them out in the wild unless someone donates them. That
mm.
was my best. That was actually my best run at the libraries. I found 24 of them, and I paid.
Okay.
I paid. Hey, hi, Jack. How are you, sir? And Mark, how are you?
Hey, Mark.
Wow, this is cool. Hi, and first time I seen you, Mark. Jack, I hope you're feeling better, my friend. I gotta talk to Steve. Um, Hopefully you're feeling better. Did you get your truck out all right? I have not. I have to catch up with Train to Busan. I know that when I watched it when it came out, I was it was very emotional. It was a very
Oh yeah.
moving story.
Hmm.
Uh, and I didn't like the second one though too much. Peninsula. I was not that big of a fan of that.
I have not seen that one yet. Yep.
You know what? I just looked over now. Now Captain Jack just came back. I have looked, and I think we are about hitting our time. And yeah, we are. Um, God, see this. I knew this was going to fly by. I knew it would be.
Well,
So what do you got next for Movie Club? What do you got next for Movie Club? What do you got next for your channel?
well, and
Um,
I'm gonna say don't feel like you got to go any longer than you have to, but I'm fair game for whatever. So you run the show, and I'm good with
well,
what you
I tell
got
you what.
going on there.
Let me ask the chat real quick. I think they're still interested in talking with us. If you're game to go for another 20 minutes, we could do that.
Whatever you're good with, I can roll with you, man. I don't have
All
anything
right.
else going on tonight.
We will go ahead. Captain Jack says half truck will travel. I love the I love the sound of that. So we'll keep the party going for about 20 minutes or so.
You call it. You call it. I'm good with
Prince
whatever, man.
Princess said, "Let's go."
No, like I said, I'm good with you call it. I'm good either way. We always get to do something again sometime. Maybe even on my channel, you can come over and we can hang
You know
out
what?
for a little bit.
You know, have you been? Tell me about some of the channels that you have been visited on, like that you've been a guest on. What are some of the channels that you really enjoyed making a guest appearance on?
Oh, I've had fun on and I'm not trying to be like politically correct, but I've had fun on every single one I've gone on. Like I've not had a bad experience yet at this point. So we were talking about Gizmo earlier. Him and Anthony, we've done a couple live streams on Gizmo's channel. KB loves movies. I've been over on his channel before. Dave and Rich at 4K Lowdown, the Faces for Radio. Been on their channel.
Great
I've
title.
been over. I'm gonna miss somebody, and somebody would probably get mad at me, so I apologize. I've been on Bob's Blu-rays. I've been on Huck's Culture Cafe. I've been on his channel. I've been on. I know I'm gonna forget somebody, and that's where I'm gonna feel bad because I'm just like trying to rattle them off. But I've been fortunate. There's been so many really great people that have asked me to come on their channel, and a lot of them, not that I'm still very small now, but even when I was even smaller, they were willing to have me come on and talk. And when I'm like, hey, I'm not going to bring too much to the table for you, and they're like, I don't care, we just want to hang out and talk. And that's what I've been trying to do, I guess, with mine as well, with some of the people I've brought on. Oh,
Uh,
and Mega Mike Movies channel, I've been on his a few
Maybe, right?
times. When yeah,
I think he's on Movie Swap this week.
is he? I can't remember. Oh,
Uh,
Dell.
Prin-
I've been to Dell. Dell and I have both swapped. Man, I knew I was going to forget somebody really good, but Dell was a really fun one to do.
that was a fun one.
Yep.
Very fun. I love that series. Prince says, a question for you. Can you give me your favorite film of all time? I can do that.
I can't.
The film that probably impacted me most as a kid, it helped shape my movie going is the first Superman, with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah,
My favorite film of the last 25 years, is a movie called A Dark Song that came out on IFC Midnight.
yeah. Hmm.
Speaking of talent, in walked Jeff Clark Jr., and he is a screenwriter and director and an actor, and he and his cast from Ya Filthy Animal, they will be here on Thursday. They will be here
Oh,
Thursday, 8 o'clock. And we'll be talking about that movie. That's a great movie. If you're not doing
cool.
anything Thursday, you need to roll out for that conversation. We're doing a panel. And that has actually been the second movie that my favorite movie of this year.
I
Uh,
will. I'll try to jump into that. That sounds very interesting. I'm. I'm going to be starting a little bit of it. I'm taking my dad on a little bit of a trip. We're going to be on a vacation, so I'm going to be kind of out of pocket a little bit for a few days here. But so talking about physical collecting, I will go too far because it's not going to be what everybody's interested in. But I grew up on a farm in a very rural community, and there's some of these tractors that my grandpa bought new in the early 40s, and now my dad has restored. And there's like a group of people that restores these tractors, and they do a traveling annual convention in different places around the United States. And people bring in their tractors from everywhere. So anyway, it's a little trip. We did it last year together, and we're going to do it again this year. And it's one of those things that I enjoy doing with it. Get to spend time with him and see that. But it's one thing too. I hope my kids will maybe want to do someday in the future too, where I mean, spend some time and just enjoy your parents or your loved ones, whoever around you, while you can. But,
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that on a personal level.
yeah.
Hey, Stephen, how are you? Another podcast host. Stephen runs the House of Horrors every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And he will be joining us this Saturday as we do our channel to channel run for the Support-tacular, helping our buddy Hobbs Horror. And Stephen will be up and running on his channel at 12 p.m. Yeah, I was just on his channel last Sunday. We were talking about Father's Day and all the great fathers in films, and that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of dads out there, both good dads and not so good dads out there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
Um,
That man,
so
that's the thing. You're like the Iron Man of streaming. You go. I think sometimes I get worn out with what I'm doing, and you do way more than I do. So you seem to really, man, and do a good job at it too. So I'm not saying anything
no,
with
thank
that,
you.
but yeah,
I try to do, what it is. I try to do just three. I was trying to do just three shows a night, 3 shows a week.
a week.
But
Yeah,
as we got going, as we got more into it, pretty soon I started getting contacted from other people wanting me
that's
to
great.
do interviews and stuff like that. Sometimes there'd be somebody who can't do an interview, and I can get them in now. Like I really want to talk to them, so I'll sit there and move a schedule around. You always, it's really, this from doing movie club. It's all about working around somebody else's schedule. It's like,
Absolutely. Yep.
it's like, can you come to the show? And if you can, that's awesome. If you can't, well, we have to reschedule it.
Right.
But I don't do a lot of guest spots. I mean, I do some, but I don't do a lot. I was, me and Steven, I helped him get his pod up and running. Um, he's the one Jen, I was talking about earlier, that had Tommy McLaughlin on his show, and the Voss
Oh
from the
yes.
evening came on and
Yep.
watched it. He was the man that hosted that show. He's had Tommy McLaughlin on twice.
Okay.
He had David Howard Thornton from Art the Clown. He had him on his show. Yeah. Stevens had himself some powerhouse guests on his show, and it's criminally underwatched. People need to find him because he does some really really fun interviews.
That's the
And
thing. That's the tricky thing with all this. You do what you like and you kind of stick with it, and you get good responses from people. So you want to stick with what you're having fun with. But it's hard to, and I'm way smaller than you, but like it's hard to get smaller channels kind of out there a little bit, to have other people come check out your
well,
stuff. But
we do. There's a lot of things we do. A lot of things we've done here is, we push other channels. Whenever I do a
oh
pop
yeah,
up,
you're doing a great job with that. Yeah, yeah.
we love doing it. That's one of my favorite things to do on YouTube, is to get out there and just push other people's channels. It's a lot of fun. When you see them hit that mark that they're looking for, it's a lot of fun. I can understand why Kevin from Tuber Chat, he's a Canadian YouTuber, and he does what they call growth stream. I can understand where he gets his energy from, because he helps a lot of people grow their channels. And so we do the same thing here. Sometime once in a while, we'll go up live, and then we'll just be talking about movies, and we'll just pump out everybody's channel. Hopefully, everybody in the chat right now will be going from, they'll be connecting with other people. Hopefully that's what they'll do, though. write down the name or just click on click on a browser, open it up, and connect. I just saw Hobbs is subscribed to Prince's channel. That's
Cool.
amazing. I'm really happy
Yeah.
with that. I'm really happy to
Yeah.
hear that. So as far as movie club goes, so you just invite the people that spark your interest, and I think that's cool. I think that's really I have to go and watch your playlist. 'Cause I do. I'm gonna have to watch your playlist because I want to. I have That's the only one. I have not seen that series. I'll be honest with you. I've not
Oh,
seen
that's
that
okay.
series.
That's okay. There's so much stuff
But
going
I have
on.
watched your Friday. I have watched your Friday series though,
Oh yeah,
and your
yeah. Okay.
Friday series is off the chain. That's one of
Thank
the
you.
funnest. That's one of the funnest hour and a half that's been on the tube.
I
Um,
well, I man, I'm flattered. I'm truly flattered hearing you say that. I've had fun. It was kind of something I was kind of throwing out there to try out. I can't do it this Friday, and it's such short notice. I don't know if I can do it now, but like I was playing around with trying to do it like tomorrow afternoon, because I'm going to be gone after that. But if not, I'll be back the next week. It seems like there's been a decent group of people that pop out there, and we get to hang
yeah,
out for a little bit. And,
someone mentioned earlier about consistency too, and that really is really what it is with a YouTube channel is
mm,
being consistent. Like
yeah,
putting out content every week. It's a it can be a little bit of a chore, but
sure,
not really. Like you go out there, you crank out a 10-minute review or 15-minute review, and you schedule it, and then you just forget about it, and then
yeah,
when it drops, it drops. It's no big thing. People find it, they find it. I don't. I just want to get something out there for people to watch. Hopefully they'll come by. Hopefully they'll hit sub to the channel, or better yet, leave me some feedback.
sure.
Leave it. And I will say that I've been so much more diligent with answering comments, and I have noticed that my channel has really benefited from that. When you
Yeah,
answer people,
yep.
when you answer comments, good things happen.
I think, and that's why. So one of the problems I run into is I went completely away from any pre-recorded stuff and kind of dove into just live streaming, and that is kind of a limited shelf life, I think, with when you
Yeah.
do some of those. But that's what I just have fun with that instant interaction with people. But I think just like what you're saying right there, you responding to somebody's comment on your video, that will bring them back. I mean, it's an honest interaction, and it's something I think we all crave to have, just that interaction about something that we both find interest in and want to talk about.
Jeff says, "You're the man." I don't know if I'm the man, but I tell you what though, I definitely know talent. That I do, and that's why I'm so happy to have Jeff Clark on the show. He has a very bright future, and yeah, I can't wait for Thursday. I hope you all can come out. I hope you all come out tomorrow. We have a writer tomorrow. We have tomorrow night. We have a very energetic writer. She's just got done writing her second book in her series. Her name is Angela Haas, and she'll be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Writers are fun to talk to.
Yeah,
Do you talk to? Do you have any plans for as far as movie club goes? Do you have any plans to expand it to include other people other than fellow YouTubers? Have you thought about, maybe even going up and interviewing some of these folks, or are you just happy where you're at and talking about the movies that you pick out?
so I'll say I'm having a blast doing what I'm doing right now, but I would not be opposed to talking to somebody that is in the industry, or doing anything. I have not taken any steps to that direction, but I would have no problem, because a lot of the people are falling into our same category too, where they have a love of films, and they're just in a different walk of life that gets them a little more involved with the process. So I would find it very interesting to talk to. So no, I'm stumbling over my answer here. So I have not done it yet. I have not taken steps to do it, but I would have nothing against it, and I'd love to talk to somebody that just has a genuine interest to share with what their project is that they're working on.
They say, what you wish for, you'll happen. So Jeff just said right here. He says, Corey, I'll be happy to come on your podcast if you're interested.
Oh,
Can I be honest with you about this?
what's that?
I take him up on it.
I Sure, man. I
Yeah, I take
like I
him up
said,
on it.
most of the people that are involved in the industry have a love for movies that we do too. You know, a lot of them are fans too, and they want to sometimes geek out with us and talk about things, but then share their project, you know, that they're, and like we were talking about earlier with, you know, me, the only reason I got into a seat in the theater for Late Night with the Devil was hearing some YouTubers talking about it. I didn't hear about it anywhere else. And sometimes there's just some projects where some of that grassroots effort, it's kind of cool to be able to shed a little light. And so if it gets a few more people to check out their project, I think that'd be cool. So along the lines you were saying earlier about that thrill you get recommending a movie to somebody and they come back and be like, yeah, I really like that. That's kind of a thrill too, I would think, having somebody with a project that they're working on that you get to hang out and talk to them about that.
Yeah,
And then
it's a
maybe
lot.
and then maybe a few other people check it out then too, because of that chat you had. You know, that seems really awesome to me.
You know, it's really it's strange because, and Stephen can probably can agree with this. What's really weird is like I see a lot of people talk about horror movies and they talk about them, you know, like they'll talk about all the favorites, you know, Friday the 13th, Jason and
Mm-hmm.
Chucky and all that. And they'll talk on all these different streams and you hear them talk about it, you know, oh, you remember this or you remember that? And what's really weird is like, it's when you get somebody who is responsible for all that, like, you know,
Right. Right.
Like a Tommy McLaughlin, right? And you get the guy who is responsible for it. And yet there's all these other people on other channels talking about it and ignoring the fact that the man responsible for what they're talking about is right in your own backyard.
Yeah.
And you're not even supporting it.
Yep.
You're not even supporting it. You're sitting over there with 30 friends wanting to be seen, but when someone comes, a smaller channel or whatever comes up with someone like a Tommy McLaughlin or David Howard Thornton, you know, oh, Art the Clown is a badass. Art the Clown's is going to be on this guy's channel right here.
Yeah.
He's going to be on
That's
the
awesome.
channel. And it's like all of a sudden it's
That's
like,
awesome.
you know, it's like, but yet you go over there and there's like 4 or 5 people, and it's just like it really boggles your mind. You're going like, because see, I'm a guy who wants to see. I want to see what's behind the door.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Are you like that? Is your personality like that? I mean, if
Oh
you were
yeah.
into Oz, would you want to go see would you want to see what the wizard looked like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like
Me
I
too.
know going off path a little bit, but I always love those shows like the how's it made, you know, kind of a
Right.
shows where it's like you see that finished product and you really enjoy that finished product, but how did it get to that point? You know, there was so many things that went into it that you had no clue at what was going on.
Exactly. And then you get the chance to talk to the person
Yeah,
who's actually doing it.
yeah,
Just to me, that's
absolutely.
just like that's just amazing to me. I just want to, you know, I'm so grateful that when they come in here and they talk with us and they share their process, and it's just like it's just it blows my mind. It blows my
Well,
mind that you know that there's a couple of us doing this, and yet a lot of people who are sitting there going like, yeah, I love Chucky. Yeah, but you know, Dorf was right down the road there. You missed
right.
them. You could have won it. And the thing about it is, you get to do it for free. You didn't have
Yep.
to pay $40 to get inside a convention and another $45 for a photo opportunity.
Oh
You didn't
right.
have to
Yep.
pay $85 for that. You could come down to the channel, gone in there, and sit there and say, I have a question.
Yep.
And they had it answered, which
Yep.
is what you would have done if you went and saw them at a panel. You know, so I just think that it's I think, you know, there's sometimes I feel like people miss out opportunity, you know, as
Oh
far
yeah.
as that, you know, they miss it out. To me, movie club. You know, I feel like I have missed out because
Oh no.
I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I've seen the faces you got in their chats and I'm going like, you just know they're having a great time. You
It,
know they're having an awesome time.
I hope so. I know I've had fun with. I've had nothing but great interactions. Like I said, either people coming on to my channel or going on to other people's channel. I've been very fortunate. It's been all great. It's something I would never trade in. I've had so much fun doing it. Um, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see where it goes. So like when you're talking about, I've just never gone down the path of. I think no matter what, I would still always want to talk to new people within YouTube or Instagram communities, because I felt such a love from some channels that were bigger than me. Well, I mean, even you right now doing this, bigger than me, that were willing to, like, I'm still surprised that somebody wants to talk to me, even with, if you can hear my dog
Me
barking
too.
in the background.
Me too. I'm that way too. When someone says, you want to do a spot, you want to do a guest spot, you want to do
Yeah.
it, I'm always shocked because
Yeah.
I'm sort of hidden out there. I'm not, even though I'm not that big either. But
Well, if you're not that big, I'm like this big.
I feel like I'm on the fringe, but I'm all right though. I live there. I'm happy there. But I am always grateful for when someone asks for me to come onto the show, because
Oh,
to
it still
me,
shocks me.
it
With
gives me a
me,
chance to talk about a movie like The Coffee Table. It gives me a chance to talk about someone like Jeff Clark Jr. It gives me a chance to talk about these people and to share them out.
oh, absolutely.
And so. Um, Stephen from the House of Horror says that he also like to come to your podcast. So I definitely think you guys can arrange a home and away. I mean, you could go, you can go on his show and he can come on yours. That's also very cool. I like that idea. And I will also hook you up with Jeff Clark as well. And I will be there for that interview when you do it. I will be there. It is 2 hours, and that
Oh yeah.
will be as far as we can
Sorry.
go.
That's what
Oh,
happens with
no
me.
problem.
That's what I don't shut my mouth too much. I keep on going.
No, not at all. 2 hours is about the most you can
Nope,
go.
you're good. No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
I want to thank everybody for coming out in the chat. You guys really lit it up tonight. You guys have been really lightening up lately. I hope that many of you who have come for the first time, I hope to see you again. We do this 3 times a week, sometimes on a weekend, and sometimes in the morning. And when we're interviewing a guest from England or from Australia, we talk to a lot of different people from all around the world. If you yourself would like to come onto the show, you can reach out and contact me on my Instagram page. Say, hey, I'd like to come talk on 8 questions. I have 8 questions to ask or answer, and we will set up a date for you to come out and hang out. And that's a promise. Tomorrow night, we have Angela Haas will be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We'll be talking about her writing process, her new series. Her first book, First Strike, is out. I've read the first chapter. It's an amazing book. Of course, Thursday, we're going to have a panel show again, our second one of the week. We have the cast and crew of the Filthy Animal. That will be Jeff Clark Jr., the screenwriter, director, the executive producer, and the photo photographer, DP, Pat Bradley, and the cast members, Michael Owen Staney, and the lovely Kelly Gregel. And she's amazing. I can't wait to talk to her. And that will be here at 8 o'clock on Thursday, and on Saturday I'll be here at 1 o'clock with several guests, and we'll be doing 2 hours to help raise awareness for Hobbs Horror. That will be on Saturday, and then Saturday at 4 o'clock, me and the Cheetah will be over on Video Tasty's channel, talking and watching Sahara.
Oh, nice. Wow, that's it. That's all you got going on.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
I got nothing else. But thank you, everybody who came out in the chat tonight. Please don't feel ignored, Stephen. Please don't feel ignored.
I would say sorry, I'll cut you off. I know I'm cutting you off, but I'll be really quick. But if anybody, when we were talking about some of the people that were like, oh yeah, I'd come talk to you too. I'm on Instagram as well. Wilky's Movies and Music on Instagram as well. And I believe you put the links in the description and stuff.
Yep. I put the Instagram on top of the chat.
So if you threw that out there, I have limited time, and I know like Patrick does too. Anyway, you can reach out to me there if you have a genuine interest, and we can see what we can do. So anyway, sorry, I was just going to throw that out there. But.
No problem. We will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Cory, stay right where you're at for a minute, and everybody else, we're going to say goodnight. The Boneyard is at 10:30 on Mr. Bones' channel. The Boneyard will be going on about 10:30. I will see some of you over there, and talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.